Welcome back to Brothers in Boots. My name is Mike.
My name is Jeff.
And today we are going to be going over John's boot collection. This is a new style of video we're doing. It's kind of a bit of a test pilot where we're going to go through John's collection. We're going to go through each pair that he's presented to us. We're going to tell you what they are. We're going to talk about them a little bit. And as we go through it, we'll talk about what we like, if there's anything we particularly dislike about it. And then we'll have recommendations at the end of like what we think maybe he should look at getting next. And then we'll give an example of a Grail boot that we think matches his collection. And we'll talk more about that Grail boot once we get to that section. Jeff today has
Nulu, great bourbon whiskey from a group that I am in. I picked this barrel a couple years ago now. Good little company. Of course, they're buying the barrels from other distilleries, usually MGP. But good stuff. Had a good time doing the pick.
It's cool. MGP has a new brand that came out recently that is their own called Smoke Eye Hill that I have a bottle of that's pretty good, especially for like a $50 bottle. Hits in that almost $100 range, or at least $100 in these days prices range, I should say.
MGP has really been changing gears with their own brands recently.
Yeah, they have another one called Dark Arts that's good too. So
they for most of their existence, they only sold to other places and were actually owned by Seagrams. A lot of it went up to Canada. So doing their own brands is definitely different. It actually has them competing with a lot of their customers. So it's a kind of a strange dynamic that they're going towards. See how it goes.
Yep. Cool. So we're going to get started right away. So first up, we have his early 90s dead stock Alden Indies in a Horween Navy nubuck. Right away, one of the first things that jumps out to me is how much better these are constructed than the current ones you get. Like there's actually dimension to the boot. It's not just flat, even though it doesn't have a huge amount of wear. The stitches look way more concise. There's less mistakes on the welts. Overall, kind of makes you wish that Alden still made stuff like this.
Yeah, I thought the construction looked a lot better as well. Nice color. I'm surprised a little bit at how close those eyelets are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so I think the modern Alden Indies actually only have 4 and not 5, if I remember right. I don't have a pair anymore to know. I mean, I can look on my phone here real quick and see if I can find a picture real fast, but no, I can't actually because Dale took those. But yeah, no, I don't think they are 5. If they are 5, maybe I'm just smoking crack, but I don't know if the standard one now is 5, but they are close together. I do remember them having 4 speed hooks, still the same, ones that can be bent real easy speed hooks, but yeah, overall the Norwegian welt just looks clean. You don't see lots of welt transition. I see a couple sanding mistakes on the toe, but this is that one that's got like that little foam toe thing. So that could easily just be that. Cause like you see like right here, there's a little bit of they just didn't get completely smooth on the sander. But I mean, overall, like it would be nice if Alden Indies were still made this way. The mock toe stitch looks significantly better than the average one. And then even like from behind, yeah, like even from behind, like you could see a little bit of the welt transition right here in the back view, but overall, like they look cleaner than the average one. And especially from this picture in the back, I don't remember the modern Alden Indies having like that much definition in terms of like heel through arch down to ball and back up. They just seem a lot flatter now. I don't know if maybe they made like a change in the True Balance last or what, but also, this one, you can kind of see in this picture, does not have the Thomas heel that they have now that has the little arch support heel. This is the one I think that the Shoe Mart gets at times, where they have the little mini lug and half sole. Overall, it's a cool boot. Like I said, it's definitely nicer than the modern Alden Indies. That's for sure.
Of course, they're very tasteful mock toe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Great boot. Great choice. I'd have it in my closet if I didn't need to have the arch.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. Alrighty. On to the next one. I'll get back down to the regular zoom here. These are Red Wing mock toes and Black Cherry Excalibur.
So far, we might have a pattern going here. We got 2 mock toes in a row.
Yep.
See if that continues. But yeah, traditional Red Wing mock toe.
Yeah, I mean, overall they look good. I will say they have all the things I dislike that Red Wing does, but I mean, they look like they're holding up. I don't see a lot of welt separation. I don't see a lot of Christie sole separation that's real common in these. They look like they've got a good amount of wear too. I like the laces choices. That kind of like high bright orange to go with the Black Cherry, I think is a great look, especially like you can really see it here from this side angle. I think it looks that well. Now I say that there is a little bit of separation going on here, so there is some in a couple spots, but
the boot that I see most often at the construction sites when I'm out or I'm at the shop.
Yep, good old Red Wing mock toe.
Or you know, when I'm out and about and I see somebody come in wearing a plumber's uniform or a cabinet maker uniform. I mean, you know, all the blue collar service guys. This is like the go-to boot. Never been a personal fan of it. I don't know why, but it has always rubbed me the wrong way looking at it. And I do not have a good reason for that. I do like the wall, the high wall that's created with that mock toe. It's got the extra foot space in there, and I like extra foot space. So I do like the idea of that, but there's something about that wedge sole and all that color combination going on that does not work for me personally.
Yeah, I there's certain things I like. Like I like the Puritan stitch. Personally, even though the single vamp construction mock toe is the most durable and just adding holes to it, I like the look of the double, the 2-part construction, which it admittedly is not as durable and oftentimes needs repaired. But personally, I like that portion. I think the thing that always sticks out to me on these is the massive amount of toe spring on a fairly flat last that is really hard to get over.
Point.
Like it sticks out like a sore thumb. It just doesn't look like a balanced boot in this picture right here, right? So
very good point. Yeah, it does not have an arch. It should not need that spring.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they do it. Maybe Red Wing did it because of the fact that those wedges are not as springy and it's springy as far as up and down.
Flexible,
I guess,
yeah. Flexible. They don't want to bend.
It does not flex as much. So by doing the toe spring up there higher, probably makes the boot easier to walk on. And
yeah, it'd be like those cast boots that let you kind of roll through the walk so you don't bend your toes when you have a broken foot.
It's got to be it.
So
you're right. I don't like the look of it.
Yeah, it's got a very in your face and uninviting view, huh? Yeah, it's such a strange balanced look, but yeah. All right, next we have the Wolverine 1,000-mile boot. It's a CF Stead leather. He can't remember the color. It looks like one of the reds or dark browns, probably one of the elks. I know it's not the Dragon's Blood because that's a little bit more orange. I was not aware that Wolverine did a CF Stead leather. I wonder how far back this was, because I know Wolverine had a custom department where you could do all widths and custom leathers. I think up until 2018, when they determined that it wasn't profitable. The 1,000 miles made in a factory in Arkansas. This also does not look like an actual Vibram sole. It looks like some kind of in-house thing. It's too plasticky. Doesn't have the right sheen to it. So I don't know what outsole this is. It is a wedge, but that's not a Vibram.
We don't hear anywhere near as much about Wolverine as I feel like we should. That 1,000 mile is as far as that price range goes, as far as that range of boots goes, it should certainly be talked about just as much as Red Wing and Danner and Thorogood, in my opinion. Granted, most people hover towards the mock toes. That this is not, but it seems like it should be the same category as far as price and leather and quality.
Yeah, I mean, most of them
It's an
these days
old-
are Chrome XL, aren't they? I'm pretty sure majority of the releases are Chrome XL, so you'd think they would be talked about in the same breath, especially because, yeah, I know they use a recycled carpet pad as their filler in a lot of cases, but it's still, they're using higher quality upper leather than SB foot, right?
And they still try to do cool things. I mean, they've done like what 4 editions of old Rip Van Winkle models.
Well, they
that are
just
in
did
limited edition.
they just did a football one recently. They did a football and a baseball glove one too, where it's made
I
out of
haven't seen the baseball.
yeah the leather that Horween makes for the footballs and the baseball gloves.
I saw the Knicks football one a while back, and I was really shocked at how it aged as it distressed. The patina, well, it looked wrong to me. It actually did not age in a way that made it look high quality.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that the football leather is treated with a ton of stuff for it to be good for football, and to be able to handle being wet and sweat on hands and all that stuff. So I'm sure it's impregnated with stuff that keep a lot of that from absorbing in, which isn't really, something you want in a boot leather.
But I've owned a lot of footballs, and I've thrown a lot of old footballs, and I have never seen a football age as badly as that did.
Maybe it's because
So it
it's
really
always
blew
under
my
pressure.
mind.
Like since the pressure is consistent throughout the whole ball or something, might be. I'm not sure.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, Wolverine does some cool stuff. I mean, that old Rip Van Winkle, of course, it's supposed to be, some of the Rip Van Winkle stuff is happy, but they did like the heel was made out of the wood from an actual barrel, supposedly. But they do some cool stuff. They do all of Harley's boots.
Yeah. Well, and
They do a
they've
lot of
always
house
got
work.
some kind of limited edition going
Label.
on too. Very rarely do they not have
You
something.
hear
running.
more about them.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And if I remember right, I think their last is a little bit more narrow and it kind of fits people that are between that like C and D width that a lot of people fall under quite well.
I think it's a good choice that he's got these Wolverines.
Yep.
I approve.
Like I said, I wish I knew what color this is because this is a cool Stead suede. I like the color a lot. All right, next we have an actual mock toe version of Wolverine 1,000 Miles, which I don't think they've done in a while. This is definitely an older pair. It's the same 1,000 mile pattern, but it is in a mock toe version. This is in a Horween Luxe Abrica, which I don't think they make anymore. It seems to be kind of Chrome XL-ish. But like I said, I don't think they make this one anymore. I haven't heard of this leather in the last couple years.
Wolverine is not doing mock toes anymore. That seems like a miss.
I would.
And this is a good mock toe.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean, looking at it compared to that Alden, it's certainly a lot better. Looking at it compared to like the Knicks style, it's similar.
No.
I mean, it's a little bit more polished.
It's a little more muted. They're not
still
pulling the leather up as hard. The stitch line, doesn't seem like it's under quite as much stress as the way that machine Knicks uses does.
You're still seeing that big toe spring.
Yeah.
We saw on the first pair.
Well,
I think that might
these I think are actually Vibram. Like, look at the color consistency difference. See how you can kind of see the layers between it. This might be an actual Vibram outsole instead of an in-house outsole. So that might just be how a Vibram after enough wear ends up. But I don't think it's a
when I look from now on, on these wedge toes. I'm going to start paying attention to the toe spring. I think it is a aspect of the wedge. I think if we saw these same, go back. The toe spring, I bet, wasn't as high in that Wolverine we just saw.
Anyways, it's well, the Wolverine, that pair is unworn. If you remember, he did say this pair was unworn so far.
It's a lot lower.
Yeah, significantly lower.
Yeah, it could spring up a little.
Yeah. So.
But it's still a wedge. It's just a mock, not a mock.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm pretty sure this one's also a Vibram based on the texture. I don't think it's a Christie, but I do think this one is actually one on the Vibram line. So, I could be wrong on that, but the way that's sanded makes me think. But overall, like I said, it's a cool boot. This leather, this Luxe was a mix between something like a Chrome XL that's a pull-up leather and like a mill-tanned overdyed leather that's more like the Austin leather, which is the Alden Indy 405, which is that brown color that's got kind of a pigment finish that scratches off. That's where this Luxe kind of landed. I don't remember.
Aging really well.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was veg retanned at all, but it's definitely, in that kind of Chrome XL spectrum that's a little farther away from it. If I remember right, I think the Luxe was replaced by the Predator, which is a completely different process. So, but yeah, I mean, overall, this is a cool pair of boots. They did something real interesting whenever this one was made with this heel counter, because I've never seen Wolverine. Because if you look, this is actually a one-piece heel counter. You can kind of see it a little bit here. As you can see, it goes up. Like usually Wolverine, if you look back here, does this strip. This is how they do it in the modern with an internal heel counter cover in the strip. But you see, this one's an actual external single piece.
Looks a lot
counter
better.
Cover. Yeah. So. Next, we have another pair of Wolverine 1000 Miles, and this is an older one as well. This is a mock toe as well. It's kind of hard to see in the picture, but it is a mock toe. This is this is on a neoprene cork. It looks like, or it might be leather actually. That could be a leather sole. This is Horween Olive Tanned Natural. I'm assuming by olive they mean the olive tree, not the color. So,
I don't think that's what this is. I think that's the next one.
The next one's the Thursday Logger. I think it is. Oh, there's no more. This is the last of the 1000 Miles on the list.
That can't be olive tan.
Okay, well, oh yeah, you're right. There is another one. There's just one that's missed on the list. This is a mock toe Wolverine 1000 Mile that is not on the list. I don't know what this is.
I had it on my list. I guess I didn't send it over to you. Yeah. He said it were seconds that he bought on eBay, that he was unsure of the leather, but it was claimed to be Horween.
Okay. Cool.
Got another one piece.
Yeah, that's
a really good looking boot.
Yeah, that's another one piece. And the interesting, it's a one piece with an internal counter cover, which is really cool. Like, see how the line here? You can see a little bit better here, but like it goes up one piece there, and the counter cover is still internal. Whoever went away from this pattern, it was probably due to all the extra stitch lines, needs to go back to this pattern, because this pattern is way cooler than the modern one.
Distinctive, but it is overdone.
Yeah,
that's a little weird there. That extra stitch for the counter.
Mm-hmm. Looks cool though. Big fan.
Yeah.
And then so this is the olive tanned natural here. And once again, the olive is an olive the branch, not olive the color. This one looks to be a little bit more modern. It's going to be the internal counter cover with the single backstay piece. Looks like it was a leather that got a half sole put on at some point. This might be a factory half sole.
Could have been that way.
I don't remember them doing this. I can't quite tell. That looks like maybe that's not. Kind of thought it was a Dr. Souls for a second, but it might not be.
No.
Because they have the singular super grip. So looks like these have been repaired at least once.
Aging real nice.
Yeah.
Good looking pair of boots.
The kind of rippling in it almost makes me wonder if this is a full veg tan pair.
or at least veg retan.
Yeah.
Or
That's possible. Like a Chrome XL, a very, very heavy veg retan, but I almost wonder if this isn't full veg. It's a cool pair. Like I said, I the only thing I dislike about it is I like that older pattern that we saw earlier more so than the single piece backstay with the internal counter cover. It's just not quite as cool and distinctive. But overall, looks nice. Once again, Wolverine doesn't quite get the love it should at its price point. Alrighty, the first boot I have some problems with. This is a Thursday Lager. I don't think he likes these very much. He did mention that he bought these during the only sale he's seen him have. The stitching's all over the map. You can see how fucked up the stitching is. He says there's loose thread all over the boot.
Are they having a sale all over, or are they having a sale on seconds? Because it certainly looks like a second.
It's possible. He just specifically mentioned bought during the only sale I've seen them have. Whether it's seconds or not, I mean, there's a couple things I see here. One, they're stitching all over. Number two, you can tell he doesn't wear these much, but you see all this fucking loose material right here? That's just a bad sanding job. And you could tell by the side, it's just really, really rough sanded. The other thing is, I just noticed this now. Look how small the heel cap is. Does it? Look at this.
Thin.
Yeah, it's short. It's tiny.
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't notice that beforehand, but yeah, it's got a very tiny heel cap. As you can see, there's loose threads all over. Like this side's not really sewn any better. It's got kind of the same wonkiness to it. It does have a cool single piece backstay and heel cover or heel counter cover combo. Do like that. God, that last looks so flat for such a tall heel. Look at that, like just it's a water slide slope.
Surprisingly high heel for that boot.
Well, it's a slope. Look, there's no arch in it at all. It's just you just lean forward. Huh.
Well, does not look like a very comfortable boot.
Well, it doesn't look like he wears them often either, so that probably says.
I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah. This was definitely a skip. I based on his comments, sounds like this is one that he kind of regrets buying, and I would definitely agree and encourage everyone to probably stay away from this as well. Because if I remember right, I think these are still like $260 or more. Get you a pair of used 1,000 miles. They'll be better. Next, we have Danner Lux Nubuck Mock. So that Lux Nubuck, I'm pretty sure, is Horween. He did mention one boot has a ton of loose grain, and you can see it right here. That entire panel is loose. Sorry, it's kind of a little bit of a blurry picture. Now, this does have that, ooh, why would they do that to the welt? Look how nasty that welt is. It's fuzzy all over. It's hanging over the edge and stuff. See all the loose fuzziness of that welt? I didn't see that before. But it does have that toe spring that we were talking about earlier. It is a mock toe. Man, I wonder if that's just from wear and like scraping up against stuff, because the other boot doesn't have it like that. You see this? Like all this little fuzz and stuff on the wall here?
Yeah, one's a lot worse. One's a lot worse than the other.
Huh. Can you see it from the backside? Oh God, it's even worse than the other side.
That loose grain is worse there too.
Yeah, real bad there.
There's a lot of roughness there.
Yeah.
Why?
And this is basically essentially their mock toe version of a bull run, so this isn't a cheap boot either. Oof. Not a fan of that one. I
like the color of the wedge. I like that the wedge is not that cream, almost white.
Well, I think it goes good with the light uppers. White on these light uppers, I think, is a problem. So I do think the black's a good choice. I think the white thread to offset the black outsole does pop well. That part looks good. But these are definitely beater boots only. That is for sure. They don't seem to spring quite as much as the other wedges we've seen spring. Because this one does look like a Christie, and it's not quite as much. There's toe spring.
Look at the other photo. It springs.
It does, but well, the left boot springs. The right boot doesn't. Look, the right boot's a whole 1/4 of an inch lower.
I think it might be illusion.
That's possible.
I don't
It
know
could be
which
camera
one's
angle.
providing the illusion.
Yeah, that's possible. Could be a camera angle thing. Yeah, hopefully he got a good price on these. That loose grain, and he did mention that the very loose grain on one boot, that was a note. Well, like I said, hopefully, John, you got him for a good price. Next, he did get it for a very good price. These are Trim Green Valeys. They're a little short chukka. He got them for $50. He uses them to cut the grass.
Jim Green seems to do a good job, and we seem to probably benefit from maybe a
currency conversion.
On,
yeah, it's a currency conversion and a tax incentive, both combo. So
I like the company, and that's a good looking short pair of boots. I mean, that could certainly be worn with a pair of shorts and look good.
Yeah, he cuts the grass in them, and it looks like they do the job well. I don't see lots of grass stains or anything. I think that rubber soles, or that gum sole is a good choice for that. And interesting note about Jim Green, you can contact Jim Green, and they can do custom sizes. They can actually do some made-to-measure sizes. Interestingly enough. Because they're a machine stitched down, they can make last adjustments that the machine can handle. You got to work the details with them.
That's a win.
Yeah, I think it's
relegated to just grass. That's a nice looking boot.
Yeah, special for $50. Like I said, I could easily see, Jim Green's leather's pretty decent. I mean, I could easily see, someone spending $110 on these and not regretting that purchase. So
you have a different view on that one.
Yeah. It's kind of a whole cut style construction where the only way the part that they're cinched together is it's two piece, but it's kind of done in a whole cut style with an internal counter cover. But it's a chukka style.
Sole is interesting. It's got a heel and wedge.
Yeah, it's a gum sole style like the Clark's Desert Boot, but it clearly has some kind of pattern on it that you don't normally see on like the Clark's Desert Boot. I mean, that's clearly these are supposed to kind of be like a Clark's Desert Boot. That's kind of the original chukka, right? But I mean, overall they look good. It's a good color. Like I said, I don't see once again $50 boot. We don't see tons of hairy stuff hanging over the side. The stitching looks good. There's not loose stitches everywhere. The outsole stitch looks pretty decent. I mean, that's really kind of the big takeaway here is we just showed a boot with loose grain everywhere that's like 5 times the price of this. So,
well, we're just looking off of what he paid, though.
That's true too. I don't think these are very expensive, even full MSRP. I don't think they're over $150. So, alrighty. Next, we have a interesting one that he found on eBay. It's called, and then we'll have a couple pictures of these. It's called a Woolrich. First boots that he bought when he didn't know anything. He saw that it was USA wool. But he also thought they were USA made, and it turns out they're made in China. The wool might be USA made, but the entire boot is Chinese. It is a actual strange two-piece mock toe construction. Like if you could see, there is actually a line here. Like they, for whatever reason, with this flat stitch they decided to make it 2 pieces instead of 1. You can see the line where it's stitched together in there. And it's actually stitched in 2 ways. It's whip stitched across the top, and it's stitched internally just right over the top of it, which is an odd choice. Same thing with kind of how they stitched multiple pieces together to make the eyelets. There is wool throughout the boot. As you can see, there's a piece of wool right here on the bottom. I can't fathom what this choice would be for, and you'll see why here in a second, besides just collecting stuff in it, like dirt and mud and dust and other particulates.
Looks like aesthetics to me. I mean, that's what Woolrich's brand is. I mean, if this was, for example, a pair of Birkenstocks, then that would have appeared to be cork, whether it was or not. It's playing to the brand.
Yeah, so you can see, I didn't see that in the other picture, but it looks like there's a little bit of broguing in the uppers too. Here and here.
Previous pair, those Jim Greens, it's called a Valet, and it's $100 boot.
Oh,
Well, actually, it's on sale from 130.
oh, cool. So that they are fairly cheap overall. Well, that's good. That's a good boot. It's a good looking boot, especially for like a shit kicker in the yard. But yes,
Okay.
there is some broguing here, which I guess is cool. But anyway, on to the main part of the boot. As you can see, this is a piece of wool here that looks to be. I don't. It looks like it's most of the midsole or something. I don't even quite know. There's some. This is clearly like wood or something that's breaking off here, of some kind of like edge banding or something edge banding like that's breaking off there at the edge. And internally, it's completely wool all on the inside too.
I'm seeing two things. I'm seeing a theme that needs to occur with the Woolrich brand, since they're all about wool. So they've tried to incorporate wool wherever they can, whether it's real wool or good wool or thick wool is something else entirely. But we're seeing a theme where they're trying to work wool into everything. And the other thing I'm seeing is veneers.
Yeah.
That heel thing that you noticed is a veneer, and that wool piece down there has got to be a veneer as well.
That's what I gotta assume. It's gotta be veneer over some kind of synthetic material. Hey, well, because look, their sock liner is a if that's not paper, that's leatherboard.
Right.
So.
And there had to be a wool insert that he's removed.
Well, I think that's wool down there in the bottom. Actually, I think that's wool that's already in there. I think the internal's lined too, so that maybe there was an extra wool insert too, but it looks like the internals are already wool, or they're that same veneered synthetic material we saw on the bottom, because it kind of looks like it might be the same color. I mean, he did mention that these were a boot that he bought before he knew anything about boots, and that seems about right. I definitely stay as far away from these as much as possible. Super cheap eyelets and hooks too.
Wool theme. I mean, they tried, but it's certainly a cheaper boot. It's not something that I would have ever bought into, maybe say fallen for, but I see why they did it all. And from a retailing standpoint, if I were running a boot store selling all sorts of brands of boots, I would have certainly brought this boot in thinking that it would sell.
Yeah. It's also interesting construction, because I see stitches on the outside running through the bottom, but on the inside, I don't see any. That maybe those are stitches for Blake stitch, so they might be a combination Blake and outsole stitch. I'm not sure. They might be like Blake Rapid or something. They could. Well, actually, that does look to be fairly accurate. They probably are Blake Rapid, because that's definitely not a welt. It's definitely a glue-on welt. Yeah, cool. Yeah, stay away from that one, which I think he would even admit in his notes that everyone should. So he did say he found them on eBay. So. Alrighty, next we have an American classic, shockingly enough. You don't see these much anymore, especially as much effort it goes into them, and they do make some cool shit, is a Rancourt. He doesn't remember what the leather is. It's thin, it's completely unstructured and unlined, but they're super comfortable, and he is right on that. These are real popular with hunters for a long time, and they are a true mock toe. So this upper here that's sewn, this upper right here that's sewn up at the top, this actually goes completely under and up to the top, and it's Blake stitched to the inside. This is a actual true moccasin. So it is going to be floppier. There's going to be less structure in it, but it doesn't really necessarily make it less durable. But I mean, you're not going to want to take it to the construction site, obviously. Not unless you want to lose all your toesies.
Casual.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. I even say it'd work as a pretty good hiking boot too, as long as you weren't doing anything, as long as it was fairly curated, right? I know they have ratings on the hiking trails. I don't know what the ratings are, but I know the ranking 1 and 2 of like beginner and slightly intermediate is a lot more curated than other stuff, and these would be perfect for something like that. So got a good look to them. Pattern's fantastic. It's kind of a combination of a old 1910 styles like long wing butcher and a mock toe Looks cool. It's got extra protection in areas where you would take the most damage. Cool boot.
I like everything about it.
Yeah.
But, from a casual standpoint, I do wonder how thick the leather is, but it does look thin.
He said thin, and just gauging the fact that this is doubled up at this point, it's got to be 3 to 4 ounce. 2 pieces of 3 to 4 ounce together in most spots. Because if you look, see that stitched together, that can't be more than 6 to 8 ounces there. So it's probably 3-4 ounce across the boot, which for this style construction kind of makes sense with all the articulation it needs to be able to do and all the manipulation they do to it. I can see it. Once again, just don't take it to the construction site. Simple enough. It's a cool boot though. Like it a lot. And then this is the Oak Street Bootmakers version, which is called their camp boot, which is kind of playing on the same thing. If you look, it's very kind of Rancourt in design. They tried to do a lot of the same stuff. I don't think it's done quite as well, personally.
No, certainly not.
So, but I mean, it's fine. I just, at the price I know a lot of these Oak Streets are, I think I'd just get oof. Okay. Yeah, definitely get the Rancourt. That back structure in that heel area is pretty bad on that one, especially with that like kind of internal bump.
I hate to say it, but I'm not liking anything about this boot. I like maybe I like what they were going for.
Yeah.
I don't like the way that it went together.
I don't think the execution's good. Also, you notice the toe springs nowhere near as high on this wedge shoulder. Hey, that's another thing too. This kind of setup that's on this one is a lot like it's like sole setup looks significantly nicer too than like this kind of like just glued on wedge, right? That's another thing I'm noticing. So, like I said, it's fine boot, but considering both of these are going to be in the same price range, I'd definitely go with the Rancourt personally.
Sure.
Next, we have the Frank's Fire Commanders. These were his first P&W boots.
There you go.
Yeah. These look like they are. Do you know what John does for a living? Because these look like they're worked in. Just like all the stuff that's embedded into the rough out and stuff makes me think he works in these.
I do not.
Okay.
Fortunately, he's not here. I do not know what he does. Yeah. Definitely does a little bit of work.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like these are worked in. Like you can just tell by the stuff that's embedded into them. These probably get worn during dirtier tasks. Seem to be in good shape. Soles aren't showing a lot of wear. Usual, losing of color on the midsole happens. The method that's used is a water-based material called edge coat. Obviously, it gets slightly wet. It comes off. They can use an oil-based one, but if you get any alcohol on it and it gets into your carpet, you will never get it out, which is why most of these guys use a water-based one.
My personal complaint here is the Red X sole.
Yeah. This might be a stock boot.
He bought it. It is a fire boot, and it is a proper sole for a fire boot. Me being not a firefighter, wildline or otherwise, I think the red is a mistake for anybody buying it who's not having fire needs.
I would agree with that.
I think it wears a little fast. I think it's a little uncomfortable. I think it can have a tendency to crumble.
Especially when it's cold.
Yeah. Now, if he's doing firework of some kind, absolutely. Perfect sole. But if he's not, wouldn't have bought a fire.
Yeah, if I remember right, I think he's a little farther north too. So, a Wide X would be a better one too, because I'm pretty sure he goes through colder winters. And these are going to suck in the winter.
He's Maryland's eastern shore, so Delaware, Maryland, Virginia.
Yeah, it gets colder there in the winter. But yeah, I mean, like I said, overall good boot. I mean, definitely wears him. You can tell by the wear on his laces. You can tell by the wear on his kiltie. But definitely a candidate for a resole into something not a Red X. I would 100%, even dare to say 1,000,000% parrot that statement.
And it looks like rough out was the right choice for him.
Yeah, he definitely
doesn't look like he's in an overly dusty conditions that would make rough out not so good of a choice. It looks like it was a solid choice for him.
Yeah, he's definitely scraped. Like you could tell, like the pieces that rub up against stuff a lot. So it was definitely the correct choice. So uppers look to be in pretty good shape too, not too beat up, which means he most likely wears them with pants. Cool. Overall, solid choice. Minus the red X sole, but once again, I'm pretty sure this was a stock boot. I don't think this was a one that he had built.
Would be my guess as well.
Next, he has the Nix mock toe in the Law Olive Bison. I don't know if this is the olive or the moss green. I think they ran both colors at one point. This is a V-bar half sole. This is Law. It looks like these get a ton of wear.
Yes.
I can't quite tell if these are on the 55 or the 11067, but I think they're on the 55.
Oh, Jesus, that is definitely a 55.
Because 11067 is kind of narrow in the waist, and that doesn't look narrow in the waist at all.
Well, which you can combat with your width, but look at the toe box height. That is way too low.
Well, it's definitely unstructured.
I mean, that's even low for a 55. That one's gotten pushed down, it looks like.
Yeah, it's definitely unstructured. It's definitely unstructured toe because the mock that's one nice thing about a mock toe for people who like unstructured toes is the mock toe will add some structure to that vamp and keep the toe box from collapsing as quickly and quite as over the top. So that is like a nice thing about it, right? But I mean, it's definitely an unstructured toe. These definitely get a ton of wear. You can tell by the amount of threads that are busted, how much toe curl it has already. Like this is definitely one of his go-tos, which it being a soft bison does make sense. Shockingly, which I can't quite figure out, maybe it's just because of the half sole and some of the materials, the laces in this pair don't look near as beat up as the other pair. The other pair of the laces look in much worse shape. But this boot overall looks like it's worn more, which is maybe he's replaced the laces though. I might just be getting a little bit of conjecture there. Maybe the laces on this pair has been replaced.
Be my guess. It looks like there's a fair amount of wear there.
Yeah. Other thing is all eyelets. That's an interesting choice on what looks to be. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's got to be a 10-inch boot there. Otherwise, it'd be 5 and 8. So all eyelets on a 10-inch boot. You'll have to let me know, John, on how you feel about that.
I wish we could ask him that. I will definitely ask him that, but I wish we could ask it for the YouTube world.
Yeah.
That's I do like all eyelets more than most people, but I would never do all eyelets more than 6. It looks like a lot of work. It looks like you're gonna have to relace the highest 3 or 4 levels.
Unless he's got a ton of lace in there. He might have a ton of lace tucked inside, but it's possible, yeah. That might also be thinking about it, that could be the reason why his laces don't look so bad too, is all eyelets. Since they don't get rubbed on near as much like they do with the eyelets. Or with the speed hooks, I mean.
Looks like a lot of work.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. Like I said, but I will say this. You got awesome heel counters. Whoever stamped your heel counters, it's too bad they didn't get your vamp with the same stuff because they fucking picked you out some badass heel counters.
Yeah, heel counters are definitely the best pieces of leather on both of those boots.
So, but I mean, overall, like I said, it looks like you got lucky with the outsole stitching. Your outsole stitching looks good. It's nice, even spaced all around. That's not always the case. Doesn't look like there's too many stitching mistakes, which is good. So you definitely won with this pair. Overall, you definitely won the QA game. That's for sure.
Personally, I would have gone 11067 for sure. I think they kind of limit you on when they'll allow you to do the 11067.
They do.
It might not even be a choice.
Yeah, and it's not the same as the 1977. Like the 11067 is kind of stretched up a little bit more. So it kind of brings the sides in some, so you got to adjust your width a little bit more. I don't know. I had a try-on boot in a 11067, and I didn't care for it back in the day. It does not feel much like my 1977 at all, even though I still lean heavily 55, personally. But I do like the boots. I like
Great
the
boot,
like the
great
olive
boot.
color. Yeah. Next we have his, as he said, his best
Ooh.
and his most recent. These don't look like they've been worn yet. Maybe they're a Thunderdome pair. This is the Frank's Monkeys with the work patch in cinnamon wax flesh over Wicket and Craig russet. Oh yeah, still waiting to wear them for the dome. Yeah, this is his dome pair.
He said that he's waiting on the dome. So these are this next one.
Yep, that is no, he can start them in 3 days. Tuesday, October 1st is when the dome starts. So he can so to when we're doing, not to date this video too much, but this video is being done on the 29th, so here in a couple days he'll actually be able to wear these. Cuz he'll get the pictures that he needs here soon.
The lighting on this makes that russet harness look a lot more orange.
Yeah, and it's definitely not. So for anyone that hasn't seen russet in real life, it is the only leather I've seen that's more pale than this is the Chloe Bone shell cordovan. This is a very, very light and pale leather that yellows up a ton in the sun. Like russet is not a orange leather at all. It's a very, very, very pale leather. See if
this is a gorgeous boot.
You can see it a little bit more from here. Like it is a very light and pale leather.
Gorgeous boot. Great choices. The monkey is really my favorite. The Riker is a close second, but I really love the monkey. I was involved in them designing this monkey and coming up with it because it seemed like a very missed area in the P&W boots.
It was.
Great choices here. I love that it's a half sole.
Yeah, if you think about it, like the most famous Indonesian brand, Sagara, their most famous model is the Cordmaster, which is literally a monkey boot with no patches. So it definitely was a missed opportunity.
I love that it's a half sole. I love that it's cinnamon wax flesh. That is one of my favorite colors and hides. I love the way that the cinnamon wax flesh looks, and I love the way it ages. This boot will probably look extremely good by the end of the competition.
Yeah. It looks like his work patch is a little different too. Almost looks like, I wonder if he got a custom one or one that was altered, because it doesn't look like the work patch goes up quite as high as they normally do. I don't know what his size is, but
it looks right to me.
Huh, seems smaller than normal. His heel counter seems a little smaller too, like maybe he asked for a pack. Oh, oops, wrong direction. Like he asked for a packer over a commander, but
he did all eyelets again.
It's an 8-inch boot. Yeah, this one's 8. Yeah, not as bad. Not as bad. An 8-inch boot.
Maybe it's a good choice. Like for me, I would guess a 6 would be as high as that you want to go with that. But as long as he doesn't mind doing any extra lacing, he might have to do. I think the eyelets certainly look better.
I could see that. Yeah. I do like his thread choice too, of going with a nice heavy contrasting white to go with the cinnamon wax flesh. That really does make it pop well.
Great boot.
Mm-hmm. It looks like he got real lucky with the stitching too, like on the areas where they have to, because if people a lot of times don't notice this, but if you see like all these are consistent and then you get to some of these angles where they're different, that's because a different machine a lot of times has to do some of these parts. So the spacing's not entirely perfect always. But I mean, overall,
that patch is really hard to stitch.
Oh yeah. It's a funky angle you're going through at some points. So like you can't really tell it right here, but this russet piece goes entirely back under here to the heel counter. Like this is a big piece. It doesn't just like stop magically behind here somewhere. So this stitching goes all the way back and is stitched to this upper piece right here, back behind here. So you're going through 3 pieces of leather at a funky angle at times. And like I said, this piece down here is going to be done by a different machine. They're going to do this on a post stitcher. That's why like I just pointed out, like this is why these gaps are all even and these are suddenly bigger. That's why. And if you look, I mean, like stitching doesn't matter so much, but he definitely won the stitching lottery because he's got fantastic stitching throughout the entire boot, like 100%. Like I see one tiny little stitching snafu, which is just right here where it looks like the leather was thinned a bit too much. And you can tell kind of how that flap wants to flop over. The skiving machine probably took a little too much or grabbed a little hard right here. But besides that, the rest of the stitching through the boots is fucking phenomenal.
I think it's a cool heel choice as well.
No.
A logger wouldn't have looked right on a monkey, in my opinion, and it's too tall to be a block. So I think that heel is the right choice.
I do too. The fantastic dogger choice there. It looks good. I mean, everyone that's watched this channel knows I lean towards the dogger / Cuban on everything as it is, but I 100% agree. I have not seen too many monkeys with a logger that I like the look of. And yes, that would have looked like a lady's boot with a block heel.
I would adjust that guilty personally.
I would too. Not only would I make it flatter.
He won't be able to do anything after dome starts, so I don't think he'll have any time to make an adjustment if he cared to. But I just always think that kilties need to be personalized a little bit, and certainly in this situation, it looks like the leather on this one needs to be narrowed a little bit.
It does. It needs to be narrowed
and
a little bit.
It'll probably make the kiltie eyelet holes line up with the regular eyelet holes a little bit better as well.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like he's already taken a little bit off the front of it because you can see kind of the fuzzy edge that's not left with the hydraulic press when they do the clicking. So it looks like he has shortened it, but I do agree he needs to take some off the edges to kind of let it sit a little flatter. The only other miss I can see here, and honestly, the kilty thing I can let go, is Dr. Souls, baby. You had the chance for Dr. Souls, and you got a V-bar. I like the V-bar, but man, the Dr. Souls is just so much better.
Ditto. Definitely. The V-bar is certainly a better choice than the 430. I would have gone Dr. Souls.
Mm-hmm. And they have the red-brown, which would have matched the cinnamon wax flesh so well, too. But like I said, I mean that's
these are gonna.
Oh yeah, these are, especially if you put them in the work dome or even in the open dome, these are going to do good. I agree.
I look forward to seeing how he does. I think he's going to do real well. I think that's going to age nicely.
Yep. And that's saying something.
Color combination is good. Boot design is great. Bravo.
Yeah, and it says something if the only thing we can do is complain about your outsole choice. I mean, we poked at the kiltie a little bit, but that's completely fixable. I mean, that's overall golf clap for you. So it's got a great side profile view and from behind view. Definitely a fan here.
Cinnamon wax flesh is especially a good choice, and that wasn't always available.
Yeah. Well, in this,
Frank's may have even pleaded to get that leather.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is he got accidentally. Yeah, he got a good cut of it too, because sometimes with these waxed fleshes, a lot of people don't know before they get them, is you might end up with boots that are two different colors, because as much as they try, the wax that gets impermeated in starts as a Venetian shoe cream, and it doesn't always go into everything deep enough to get the same thickness of wax. So a tiny little bit of wear and they look like they're two different colors, or sometimes they just ship as two different colors. Right? So he definitely won in the, like, all of his like cinnamon wax flesh is consistent across the boot, which is fantastic too. I think he's just a regular brown leather tongue from what I can tell. I think it's just the stock brown. But overall, fantastic pair. All right, you can see our faces again. You haven't seen us in a while. Woohoo! We've been here, we promise. But yeah, so overall, like I said, John, the two takeaways that I do see is, obviously we see how you've educated yourself in boots throughout the journey. Like the stuff we started with to the stuff we ended with. There's obviously been a journey here, and we all go through it. I did a whole episode on boot regrets, and I focused on boot regrets that didn't include my beginning pieces of boots, just my boot regrets from my informed period and beyond, right? So that's a thing. What I would like to see you get at some point, if money provided, is especially given your proclivity for some of the taller boots, a Riker, an 8 or a 10-inch Riker.
Cool.
Definitely needs to be on your list. Or maybe even, it's supposed to be coming at some point. You like mock toes. There's a Frank's mock toe coming. You might be able to mix a Riker with a mock toe with a Rainer and get a couple models in one.
He clearly does seem to like the mock toes. Unless he's tired himself of them.
No, that's a possibility too.
I did see quite a few.
Yeah, I didn't see a cap toe, and that's besides the Thursday boot. And that's another thing is whatever you get, you might consider a cap toe a little bit more, unless it's on the 1977, and then you will want to see pictures before you just jump headfirst into that. It is slightly comical.
I think I disagree. I partially disagree. I disagree when it's a wide boot. I think wide makes it worse, and it also depends a little bit on the leather, whether it's a thick leather or not, how much it adds to it. I tend to lean towards the thicker leathers at like 8 ounces, and that's an awful lot. But if you're getting like a 6 ounce, like a Horween wax flesh, that's a lot thinner. It's gonna have a different look.
Yep.
And I don't think his feet can't be particularly wide because of what most of his boots are.
Yeah, and then that does seem accurate. And the other thing too is I don't know, that last picture looks like it is a well, let's go look at it again. Based on the toe spring, I'm guessing this has to be a 55. There's no way that's a 1977 with the toe box height and everything. So I'm guessing you're in the 55 range, and I have a lot of 8 and 10 ounce leathers with cap toes on the 55. I don't think it's quite as bad on the 1977. See pictures first, please. It definitely changes the look a lot. Because like I said, my shinkies are the natural shinkies are 9 ounces, and the cap toe on it's fine, looks good. But it's 55. It's not a 1977.
He definitely seems to be moving more towards quality than quantity.
Yep.
Which is the right way to go. The way I think most of us viewing and most of us talking have gone. You've only got so many pairs of feet.
Yep.
And you can only wear so many boots, and you can only fill up your closet so much. So it becomes more important to pick the higher quality ones that are going to last a lifetime and fit, are made in materials that are best.
Yep. So what is your suggestion for his next pickup? You in the same category with me, or do you have a different one?
Hate to be plain and agreeable, but I think that a Riker would certainly be a great addition to his collection. I'm not sure what recommendations to make as far as colors of the canvas or of the leather. He does have a black. He does have the cinnamon. And he does have the lighter color in the Law Bison.
Maybe a blue. A blue's not too wild and is doable. A darker blue specifically, something leaning in the black spectrum.
He does have a blue, and he does like bison. Yeah. Maybe the Law's blue bison would be a great choice for him. That is a super cool looking leather. Yeah. How about that? How about let's see. So what color canvas with a Law blue bison?
You could do black. You could do green. I don't think you would want to go like crazy and go with white on that combo because that's a very dark blue. But I definitely think a black or a green would look good.
White would contrast a lot, but if you did white stitching, that could go along with it, and it could, as it ages. And I have no doubt from looking at his boots that it's going to end up looking more of a tan,
a khaki,
pretty quickly. I think that could be a good look. They also have the linen that's a brown. Maybe
That's
the linen's
true.
right.
It's got kind of a khaki color to it. That would be about perfect because khaki. Me personally, I think the two stitches that go best with blue are white, but even better is khaki. Khaki just pops something different on blue, and it's one of my favorites on blue.
I think that's it. Yeah, that linen color is a khaki. He could do khaki thread all throughout. I think that could be a solid, really good looking boot. He has one pair of blue, so he knows how he feels about it. That sounds great. And do the Dr. Soul this time.
Yes, 100% Dr. Soul. Now, Grail boot.
I didn't.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Finish point first.
I think that's a great choice. It's different than anything that he's done, and the Riker is just. I didn't think I'd like it at first, but I've fallen in love with it. I think it's an excellent choice. I think it's very durable, a little bit lighter, which is good for his climate, and that's my recommendation.
You heard it first, folks. Stamp of approval. Reach out to us if you need help making that boot, John. All right, Grail boot.
How many minutes are we at?
We're over an hour already. So
We usually are.
Yeah.
But that's what everybody prefers, so we're right where we should be.
Yep. Grail boot. Now I'm gonna preface this with this. So this question came up on I think the first of your live streams. Or was it the second? Second. Okay. And it was a tough one to answer because a Grail boot means a lot of different things. So I'm going to preface this before we go into this specifically of a Grail boot doesn't have to be the most expensive boot. It doesn't have to be the most, extreme maker, the most longest way exclusive or anything like that. The Grail boot is just like someone's perfect epitome of like, it's all the things I like in a boot, in the leather I've always wanted and I love the most, in the correct package, right? And that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So from the Grail boot, when I give out my specification on this one specifically, I'm not aiming like at a particular maker or a price point or anything like that. I'm just saying like, what is your collection missing of something that's just over the top? Like it is the like, man, if money wasn't an option, I didn't have to wait on anybody's wait list. I didn't have to be in some exclusive club or whatever, like, something off Savile Road over in England, what would that be? Right. And that's what we mean by Grail boot. And it's going to mean something different to everybody. Some people, well, actually, I shouldn't even say some people. If we were to take, our comment section, most likely you're going to hear probably the top three are going to be Creosote, Brian the Bootmaker, and White Cloud. Right? Like those are probably going to be the three top like Grail boot, or they're going to hear something like, oh, if Franks would finally do a Shell Cordovan boot or something around those lines is what a lot of people are probably going to say. But the idea of Grail boot goes beyond that, right? Because a Grail boot is most likely going to be something that is like the other stuff that you have. It's probably going to take your most favorite components and put them in, which means it's going to kind of be a duplicate boot. It's going to take all the stuff that you liked in the other stuff. Now, in my case, looking at John's collection, my recommendation of a Grail boot would be a service boot maker, likely Creosote or Brian the Bootmaker, specifically, since he likes the softer leathers, in a beautiful kangaroo. Cap toe, not cap toe, doesn't matter. Maybe like kind of like a boondocker. He's kind of in a lot of those boondocker service styles in a kangaroo.
Not what I expected. Yeah, Grail boots got to be. I'm not as impressed with Brian the Bootmaker, but Creosote definitely has to be on that list. I think Flora would be on that list. Maybe Flame Panda might be on the list. But yeah, he looks like he would enjoy a finer leather, probably I would say a horse rump. He's got to pick his favorite color, but I don't know what his favorite color is. Looks like it would probably be Mock Toe, and might want a two-piece Mock Toe.
Mm-hmm.
you can find somebody who's willing to do a two-piece. It kind of looks like, from what I've seen, that he may not need the strength of the one piece, and that the two piece might provide the better look and the more toe room might be seeking. Just guessing from what I'm looking at in the collection. But will Creosote does Creosote do a does he do a
mock toe
two piece?
No, he doesn't do any mock toes, no monkey boots. But he does have a
What about custom craft?
Yeah, he does monkey boot. He does not do a mock toe, at least not yet. So, but I mean, so Creosote does have a couple that line up with that kind of service boot in those styles. You've got the 9 Ditches. He used to do one called the Drifter that's a service boot. He also used to do a really cool one that I wish I had ordered that I didn't, called a Beatnik Monk, which is a single piece monk with a square toe last. It's pretty fucking cool looking. I mean, it's exactly what it says. It looks like something you would see worn in the middle of nowhere Midwest, but I thought it was cool. It also, the backstay stitch was visible. There was no cover on it. Just to really get the beatnik effect in. But that boot's not made anymore. But it's just one of those things. But yeah, no, like I said, I think like a service boot style kangaroo, I could see horse rump as well. Is definitely where it's at. Maybe even leaning slightly boondocker, because it's close to what you got, but something a little different. But that's it.
Cover everything?
I think so. No, that's it. So
question or an idea?
Yeah. So as always, like, comment, subscribe, the usual stuff. But let us know what you thought of this in the comments down below. This is kind of a test pattern. I can say so far, just from what we've heard, I've liked how this has gone. It got way more length than we were expecting. I was not expecting to pass the 30-minute mark on this. But like, what do you guys think? Is this something that you're interested in? This was a kind of a test idea. We've got 3 more we can do so far.
3 more.
Okay.
Presently 3 more.
So let us know. The second one that we have, the Everett made a video for us, so it's a little bit different. So we'll give that one a test go as well, and kind of let us know, and we'll set some of the others maybe to the side for a little bit to see kind of what the feedback is and what everyone likes, and go forward from there. But we're really curious, because like I said, this actually was a lot of fun, to be entirely honest.
Yeah, I enjoyed myself.
So I hope everybody likes it. I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, and like I said, I think this is kind of fun. It gives people ideas, because a lot of times when we're thinking about making boots, we're wanting to make something. Some people can just kind of see and have a good vision of what they want, and they don't need like a visual representation. I fall in that category. But there's people like a Knob who literally draws the boot up in paint because he needs a visual representation of what he's going to do. And I think this kind of gives everybody the best of both worlds of like seeing maybe the next thing they want, right?
Certainly brings up the variety, sparks ideas, sparks conversation. Yeah.
So
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Anyway, hope everybody enjoyed. See you on the next one.
Ancha.